Some people may wonder why I always keep talking about the numbers, letters, and symbols instead of diving into deeper things like the conspiracies and the controversies going on in our world. But what they're not understanding is that these same people who will say that the words have alternate meanings and the definitions of words have been messed with and tampered with, and we've been led to mislead, or we've been led to believe the wrong things. People will say that, and they will say things like, if you believe that you can't, or you say that you can't, then you're just manifesting the idea of that you can't. But when they say that, they don't understand that I am well aware of what they've heard and what they think. At the same time, the numbers and letters don't have a misuse. They can't be misinterpreted once you understand what they mean. That's why I go deep into it. When people keep telling you that you've got to learn this because it's important, you've got to understand why governments have written laws and turned people into vessels, and you've got to remove yourself from the system because they've lied to you and they've mistreated us and they've swindled us into taking part in things that we didn't even know and that we weren't aware of when we were born and when we signed papers and gave over our rights. Like, I don't give a rat's ass if people have manipulated us. I know they have. I know to what degree they have. I know what's happening. I'm well aware of everything from the child trafficking to the death cults to the seances and rituals. I'm well aware of all of it. But the more attention we give it, the more we allow it to be normalized. So therefore, when people understand that the numbers and letters and symbols are actually what we are bound to in this world as a physical body that is actually being lived in by a spiritual being, that is actually being portrayed as a time being made of mineral memory and spiritual action put into creation by the Almighty, or by God, or by the Great, whatever people want to refer to it as. When they keep talking about this guy does this, and these people have underground cities, and these tunnels under villages, and when you die, this planet, no matter its shape, all the water, everything under the ocean, everything out in what we call space, everything that is happening, period, does not exist. Never has, never will. You, as an individual, are existing for a time period, for the time being in which you are. If you can't understand these simple things that I'm saying, that's not my fault. If you're more interested in Bohemian Grove and what the Queen does and how England is owning everything, you will never understand that you yourself are distracting the truth of what God really is. People are using the word God so frequently in minor level activities, in minor level explanations, that they are belittling themselves even more. That saying where people say, oh, the Bible is such a meaningful book, and it's like this most magical thing. And they talk about Babel and Babylon and the Jews. And do you know that these things actually, truly do not matter? Just because you think they do and you have yourself convinced that they are so important does not mean that they are, because they aren't. You are importing them into your entity. You are activating them as notions plus who you are. You're putting them inside you and thinking they are meaningful. If you think the Bible is so powerful because it's the Word, so is every other thing we've ever seen, every other thing we've ever said, every other thing we've ever heard. They are all the Word. So we are the living Bible. We are the living Word. Even more than just the Bible. We are the living light. We are the letters. We are the Spirit. We are the bodies of energy. It's not my fault that people can't understand the level of consciousness I've reached. It's taking a major step back just to listen to people tell me that I have to do this and I have to do that, because a part of me understands that I'm in this physical world and I have no cooperation from any people who care. So therefore, that's the only reason that I feel as an individual human being in this time space that I have to cooperate on some level. But I know in my heart, soul, spirit, everything that is me in a human body and everything that is God in a divine body understands that this is bullshit that I must apparently have to take part in, because every other human being is distracted by another story put out on TV or put out over media, whether it's the secondary media, or the less censored medias. That doesn't mean shit. If you're transmitting it over the waves, they're being heard by those darker powers. They can tune into you. They can lock into anything they want. And there is no they. It's only another version of us. It's the feeling of us that worries about what will be. Now, yes, I, as Dan, do understand this. But I cannot just block out my children meaning something to me. I cannot. I will not. Because they're light beings asked to come into this reality so that I can help them understand it. Before we came here, I told them that this is going to be really hard, and you're really going to have a hard time separating yourself from all the junk and garbage going on in the world. If you have the chance to eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, watch all kinds of cool dances and singing and everybody saying all this meaningful stuff that'll touch your emotions, and then get stuck in it, that's not my fault. That is your individual process in going through. I don't need it anymore. I don't need to be here. I want to be here so that I can help uplift anybody who's ready. And nobody is. No matter how much they say they are, when they're looking into their books or they're studying the past, you make history repeat itself by studying it, getting it in your mind, and then manifesting it. By studying what shape everything is, by studying all the deep, dark secrets from the past, you bring them back into being. By reading about space and aliens and watching things about space and aliens and being fascinated on it, you've basically fastened yourself to it. You've fastened your nature to it. And you bring it in. The more people paying attention to this bullshit, the more problems we have. The more people who move away from it and actually go back to nature and stop worrying about the bullshit, but also at the same time are good examples to show people what's going on, have to understand that has to be more of your message than all the deceit and the lies. That's why I try to break down names. That's why I try to stay as simple as possible. But as an individual with an ego as a tool to speak through, I'm getting really annoyed with everybody and everything who thinks that watching other people talk about the deep, dark occult, is so important. More important than what I'm trying to explain. I want nothing for this. I want to lift your soul because that's what you want. You don't want to get yourself fucking worried looking at all these stories. When people start bringing it up, be like, you need to listen to this and take it seriously. When people start telling you you got to remove yourself from the system and become a sovereign being or a state national, you've got to understand that spirit, if you really believe in spirit, don't regurgitate Jesus Christ and talking about God or the Quran or any of those things. Nobody out there who's saying this stuff to me understands the depth that I do. Because they're hearing other people say stuff that fascinates them, that they never knew before. I lived through it. I know this shit already. I don't feel like regurgitating my fucking past history. Do you want to sit and tell everybody your personal story over and over and over and over and over and over? No. I've seen this fucking planet end, and I know how we can actually change it due to its probability. But we are just looking into it and bringing it more into being by putting it out there. When we see something going wrong, we have to demand it stop, and we have to make it apparent to other people why. That is the important part. My message is the truth on a spiritual level, not on a physical human level. Now, all these people doing that, apparently that's the level they're on, and they're not going to understand where I'm coming from. I love them, and I'm trying to help them, but it gets so frustrating when I go, don't you understand the deeper meaning of what I'm saying compared to, yeah, I'm talking about numbers and letters and breaking down names. Boy, that's boring. But do you think living with nature, cooperating in a more profound way, the way that nature actually operates, is going to be super fascinating compared to all the stories and ideas you can introduce to your brain that are new and scary and that worry you and that make you feel like, ooh, this is the way to go. It's something new. I'm going to latch onto that and do that. No, you've got to understand that what I'm teaching is the fucking truth beyond all that shit. I don't need to look into it because I do know it already. I just choose not to pay attention to it. It's like watching a movie I've seen 1 billion times and seeing other people point out things in the movie and elaborating on them so much more that it's like, wow. Every time you watch a movie, you notice something different. But this time, I'm noticing how people just can't see how meaningful what I'm teaching them is. Because no matter what they bring up, the breakdown of letters, numbers, and words will apply to these things. No matter who or what they are, and no matter how crazy and seemingly far-fetched or hardcore those ideas may be. I don't want to hear your songs. I don't want to hear the next podcast that you've watched. I don't want to see your TikTok likes or what you think is the meaningful stuff that you've got to teach people, because it's not. If you're not teaching people to go back to nature, and specifically that, get a closer relationship to God, Spirit, or the higher power, whatever they want to call it, that is exclusively what people need to do to make this planet change. Not keep exposing scary shit to people, because that manifests more of it. All they're going to do is nothing. They're going to sit back and be lazy fucking coward children and do nothing about it. They might talk about it. And what does speaking the words do? It manifests it. How can anybody not understand this? Now, I'm completely happy. But it doesn't seem like anybody takes it seriously unless someone loses their shit. I'm totally fine. I don't need anything from anyone. But as a human being who wants to stick around a little longer to see if I can help this planet actually heal, which I know that I have the answer, I am not the Savior. I am not Jesus Christ, because that's just another word pattern. I am God. I am a human being who has created this whole thing and remembers it. And now everybody's being like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what does this mean? And what does that mean? Why are you so worried about it? Do you understand who you are? Do you understand the depth of the fact that you are not your body, and you are not your name, and you are not a person watching YouTube or videos or podcasts or TikTok or Instagram? None of that shit matters. They are all avenues to distract you from the divine truth. The divine truth cannot be separated. It cannot be. No matter how off course or how separated other people seem to be, they are not separated. And the more you speak these negative things into their mind, the more they are going to seem to separate from you due to their fear of truth. So putting true things going on in the physical world out there for people is not helping them. It's scaring them, and it's causing it to happen faster. Don't you see that the biggest psyop is by showing things to people so that they can talk about it, so they can put it out in the world more? People say that it needs to be spoken into existence, but then they repeat it over and over again. And they don't see the problem with that. You do not need to speak that. You need to say, when somebody brings those things up, be like, I don't want to hear that shit. Let's talk about something else. And why don't you get your head on straight and stop looking into that dark shit? And when you know something like that's going on, get people together who give a fuck and do something about it. Quit being fucking chicken shits and letting your life be ran by money. And quit telling people that money is the way that we make this work. Because you get enough money and you can really use that money to help people. Yeah, because in the, even the Bible that everybody think is so great, where it says moss and dust corrupt. Well, guess what that also means? Your body, this planet, the people in it, the ideas going on, none of those things are fucking truly meaningful. They are just ways for you to understand who you are. And I know this because I've done it through this body, through your body, and through every body that's ever and is ever going to exist. When I say that, I'm not saying it lightly. I'm saying it truthfully. And I'm not worried about clarifying what I'm saying to people, but I'm trying to so they can understand because I love them. If anyone would actually listen to what I'm saying, and have meaningful questions other than, oh, did you hear about this thing? And what about this thing? This guy's got a point because this planet is that and this planet is that. Dude, none of it is real. None of it is truly, truly real. We all understand that everything is energy in motion. Even the water, even the air, even the light, even the solid materials that we think are rock hard. None of them are real. None. Get that through your head. None. Not one fucking story that you're going to share with people to try to show them the truth is meaningful. The only truth is who you are. You are a word of God, which is your name, which has now set you on a course to see what your place in this universe is. And now, if you understand what I'm trying to teach you and actually apply yourself to learning it, not learning how to escape the system, not learning how to be good on computers, not learning how to manifest your dreams, not learning how to make money. Those things are actually holding you back. How don't you understand this? How? Are you that corrupted that you think those things are more important than the non-bodied being that you are? The spiritual light within you. And I'm not talking light like a shiny thing that you see with your eyes. I'm talking about the 3D identified, generated here plus who you are. Or just LITE, the 3D identity plus your expression. Or the name you are, the now active manifested expression. It's not you. It's just what you came in here to be so that you could understand the depth of who you are. Not so you can get caught on everybody else's psyops and everybody else's ideas and everybody else's truth and everybody else's proof. This is not Dan's truth. This is the truth shown to me by the creator of this whole fucking thing. Not just the universe, all of them. I've been through this as all of us, as every opportunity, as every option, as every possibility that can be. That's why I don't get stuck on one, because they mean nothing to me. Do I want to see people harmed? No. Do I enjoy seeing children be hurt? No. Do I want to stop those things? Yes. And what's the best way to do that? Lead people to the absolute truth so they can get their mind blown by seeing what is true. Then they can apply that to those things and not get scared and pissed off about them, because maybe, just maybe, if they can clean their bodies and minds enough, they can be sensitive enough to see how meaningful it is. Now, I apologize if my yelling bothers you, but if you understood what it's like to be God in a human form, and not just saying, I'm God, and that's, I'm this divine thing. We all are. We all are. Get it through your head. I'm not saying that Dan Alexander itself is God, but I'm saying that Dan Alexander understands it more than anyone who has ever existed or in this time space will ever exist on this planet. Because now they can learn from me and seemingly in a human world go further with it. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want any technology. I know the divine technology of God, of spirit, of light, of essence. And I say this because I have to play this fucking stupid game with a bunch of people who are just so confused, even though I love them for trying. You've got to understand that this anger isn't directly placed at or towards anybody. It's at the whole. And I've only had a few people interact with me, and I see how distracted they are. They know it, but then the next thing they see, they're distracted again. They keep going down rabbit holes. And all that's going to do is create more and more and more and more lives to come for you to go through, because you have more questions. And when you have a question and you ask it in a divine way within your heart and soul, you live a life in order to understand it. If you can't understand it in this lifetime, you're going to go through as many as you need to in order to elevate your consciousness, in order to ascend to the next level. I do not need to be here anymore. I could just blow my head off and still ascend to the next level. Suicide means nothing when you're in that divine understanding. But people on this earth plane need me. Plain and simple. So I'm here trying to help. I'm here opening my heart all the time. This is a speech of love. This is me talking from my heart. This is me being exactly what is. The creator, the created, and the creation, all in one. I don't need anything from you. But if you want this planet to thrive, if you want the people you know to actually live a better life and change this whole thing around, you need to understand what I'm teaching. Not what Alex Jones is talking about. Not what people are talking about with the reptilians. Not with the space invaders. Not with the government. With the truth of what God is and how it's in you. That is the absolutely most important thing. Beyond everything else. Don't say it in one breath and then go off about all these stories about underground tunnels. Who really gives a shit? Now, if you're going to do something about it to stop it, make that aware to people. Now, I understand that these are all things that we're going on or going into in this reality so that we can work out our karma. And some people are getting caught in creating new karma by not understanding that it is as simple as the word. Even the people who said that in the Bible had no idea how deep it went. They were only in a divine place at some of them when they wrote it down. And then that was manipulated. And then that was confiscated and then redirected so that people would fall into a state of passivity. Exactly that. That's what it is. TV has misled you. The radio has misled you. Even your family members, whether knowingly or unknowingly, have misled you. Now you yourself are misleading yourself. I will not mislead you. I say it simply. I say it truthfully. And if you can't understand it, that isn't my fault. And that's all I'm going to say.